more sex correlates with hair growth, and low libido, low sex can correlate with hair loss. Hey baddies, this is your girl Bevy with Hairscripts, and today we're going to talk about sex. Okay, let's talk about sex, baby. Okay, let's talk about you and me. ... because I don't know all the words. Don't revoke my black card. Anyway, all right, so really quickly, you know, on this channel I try to talk about everything. I push the envelope, and I have to link it to science, and I have to link it to clinical studies, because tis is what I do. And so some topics may seem like it's a bit of a reach, but trust and believe, it's really not. It's really not. It's all tied into your health, overall health and wellness as a woman. Shout out to my men who are watching, for your sisters, mothers, cousins, wives, and for yourself. Shout out to you too. So long story short, I want to talk about how, one, low libido and low sex drive correlates with, unfortunately, hair loss. Yes, it does. And what you can do, basically how you can, boom, increase that sex life and start to rebalance those hormones to start promoting healthier hair and skin and scalp and all that good stuff. Okay, so bear with me, because I'm going to try to connect the dots. I'm going to give you the science. I'm going to throw a little bit of this, a little bit of that, sprinkle a little bit of razzle dazzle, and then we're going to get to the point. So you got to stick to the end of the video. But before we do that, like and subscribe, show me some love. Go visit all the other videos that I took the time to put together, honey, for you guys. And trust and believe that I am speaking from experience here. Okay, I know what I'm talking about. Hey baddies, it's your girl Bevy with Hairscripts, and I have some great news. If you are experiencing hair loss, meaning it's shedding, it's thinning, you have bald spots, it's breaking, you don't know what the problem is and you don't know how to treat it and how to fix it, do me a favor and go to thehairscripts.com. Go to our website, the link is down below, and use our scalp evaluation tool, where you can upload up to 6 photos of your scalp and your problem area. And one of our Hairscripts hair loss experts will get back to you, not only with the full evaluation, but a treatment plan on how you can personally regrow your hair back based on your hair growth concerns. But that's not all. You'll also get product recommendations that are going to be better for you and not for your neighbor. Okay, so personalized hair care, girl, that's where it's at. And if that's not good and that's not reason enough for you to go, it's free, okay? Don't say I didn't tell you. Bye. Okay, so let's jump right in, okay, to the topic at hand, okay? And it's basically how more sex correlates with hair growth, and low libido, low sex can correlate with hair loss, okay? Follow me there. So there is a clinical study in the Canadian Urological Association journal that directly links female sexual dysfunction with androgenetic alopecia. Okay, and basically what it says is that 43% of the women from the study, which were between the ages of 18 to 59, has sexual dysfunction. And it shows that because they had sexual dysfunction, they had an increase of androgens. Okay, now androgens is part of testosterone. It's part of the testosterone hormone that, if it's increased in your body, okay, then it's going to cause thinning and shedding. So if you find, and follicle atrophy. So what that means is that your beautiful, thriving follicle that's thick like this is going to start to thin out, and all that hair that you have growing out your hair, you're out of your follicle, out of your scalp, and all those hair growth oils and all those massages and all that other wonderful stuff that you're gonna do is only gonna give way and produce thin hairs, because your follicles are suffocating, sis. And so when you have an increase of things like androgens, testosterone, DHT, and DHEA, these are all testosterone derived hormones. These are all testosterone hormones and pretty much subsets of testosterone. And what it means is not, if you're a woman especially, it's no good, right? Every hormone has a function in the body, specifically in the male body, specifically in the female body. But if you're a woman and you have high levels of DHEAS, DHT, androgens, you're gonna be dealing with some thinning, okay? You're gonna have thinner hair. Every time you grow hair, it's gonna be thinner and thinner than it was before. You're gonna be dealing with a lot of shedding. Eventually you're gonna deal with hair loss, and in some cases female pattern hair loss, okay, which is the female version of male pattern baldness. It's the same thing, just different day. So now, why is there a correlation with this? Obviously, if your sex hormones, meaning your estrogen, progesterone, and your testosterone are imbalanced, okay, they're not on the same playing field, they're not doing what they're supposed to do, they're not giving what they're supposed to give, then unfortunately you're falling into a place where now you have janky hormones, and of course it is giving way to other problems in your life. So now the tie-in with sex, okay, so first of all, like I mentioned, what causes sexual dysfunction? Like I mentioned, androgens, cardiac disease, insulin resistance, okay, so if you're pre-diabetic, okay, it can affect your sexual function, your sexual appetite. Of course, other metabolic syndromes like diabetes, obesity, everything that has something to do with your metabolism being completely out of whack. If your metabolism is not working, if it's out of whack and you have diabetes, pre-diabetes, insulin resistance, you're overweight in your midsection, you're thicker in the wrong places, this video is for you. Stay tuned, okay? Now, I know there are some thick girls, beautiful BBWs, okay, that have no problem with their sex drives, and their sex drives is intact, honey, and their hair is thriving. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to my women who are in their upper 30s, possibly 40s, and so on, okay? Who, yeah, you can't get away with what you used to get away with, and now it's starting to affect you, impact you. And let's talk about how it affects and impacts you, okay? So first of all, let's talk about increasing your sex to have to increase your estrogen and progesterone. But before we talk about the link of more sex and estrogen and progesterone, let's just talk about kind of like the hormonal hierarchy here. So I'm going to try to post it here, and here, okay? So when we're talking about the hormone hierarchy, we're talking about, we always think about the sex hormones, progesterone, testosterone, and estrogen. Estrogen and progesterone goes together like peanut butter and jelly. You cannot have one without the other as a woman. If you have too much estrogen, there's going to be issues that you're going to have like insulin resistance and weight gain, right? But if your estrogen is way too low, then you're not going to have a WAP, right? That vag is going to be dry and dusty. And unfortunately, it's going to be a Sahara desert. And that's because you don't have enough estrogen to help you create the lubrication that you need. Progesterone is balancing out that estrogen to make sure that you don't have too much estrogen so that you're not gaining an excessive amount of weight. But then estrogen is balancing progesterone because progesterone is really responsible for PMS and making sure that you're not a complete itch, if you know what I mean, okay? So estrogen is making sure progesterone is not an itch. Okay, we're gonna make sure that your emotions are intact, progesterone, because you showing your colors right now. And progesterone is telling estrogen you're doing a little bit too much and you eating a little bit too much cake, you're about to gain some weight. Let's get this together. That's what they do. Now, as women, we do need testosterone as well. Testosterone is there to balance things out, to help us as far as our metabolism, etc. But of course, as women, we do not need too much of it. And don't believe the hype. Too much testosterone as a woman does not mean a higher sex drive. It means a 5 o'clock shadow. It means hair in unwanted places. It means thinning hair on your head. And it can mean deeper voice too. So listen, I come in the name of love, okay? And in the name of experience, okay? Don't ask me how I know. Don't ask me how I know. So in order to balance these three out, we need to make sure that we're first balancing oxytocin, cortisol, and insulin, okay? So now oxytocin is the love drug, aka the love hormone. And what activates oxytocin? Well, if we keep it PG and tender, we can say things like, you know, cuddles and hugs and loves and kisses. But if we really want to get it there, if we want to drive the point home, honey, oxytocin is going to spike when you're having sex, okay? When you're having great sex, good sex. And when, you know, you're moving everything. You're moving all the functions in there. You're getting that estrogen to get that vagina nice and wet. And it's all just like a nice, it's a wheel, right? It's like a domino effect of everything that we need to happen. And that's how you're going to increase that oxytocin, by increasing sex. Okay, now hold off for a second before we keep going into sex. Now, cortisol is the hormone that we call the stress hormone, is directly correlated and related to stress. Okay, if you're stressed out, more than likely your cortisol levels are extremely high. Now, cortisol is important for activating your fight or flight. We need to know when it's time to run, when it's time to fight. We need to be able to have that kind of like that access available so that we know when we should be fighting or flighting. But unfortunately, some of our fight or flight is just completely dysregulated, okay? Because our cortisols are extremely high. We done been stressed out to the moon, okay? I.e. me, don't ask me how I know, but if you're a woman in your mid-30s, closer to your 40s and further on, you're a baddie at any age, just know that life has happened. Things are not as, peachy as they used to be. In some cases, some things were never peachy, and your stress levels are just to the moon, okay? So we have to reduce that stress. How do you reduce stress? Obviously, you reduce stress through diet, through exercise. You reduce stress through, mindfulness, through breathing, through cognitive behavior therapy, through therapy in general, meditation, in my case, prayer. I got to go to Christ about everything, okay? And of course, other ways to reduce stress is by having more sex. I'm just saying. Do you see the trends here? Okay, good. Now, insulin is the next one. And I talk about this in other videos. I'm not going to go too deep here. Insulin, if you need to regulate that insulin, what you need to absolutely do is you need to intermittent fast, okay? It doesn't work for everybody, but it works for many bodies. It worked for me when nothing else did. Other than that, of course, diet, exercise, healthy diet or healthy lifestyle rather. Making sure that you're managing your micronutrients properly, that you're eating the right amount of macros for your body type, okay? Video coming on that, because I said that I would do a video on that really soon about how to eat for your body type, specifically how to intake protein for hair growth based on your body type, okay? That is coming. I heard you girls, and it is coming. With regulating your insulin, okay, obviously you're regulating your metabolic system, and you're making sure that you are not giving way or giving birth to metabolic syndrome, which unfortunately is a whole bunch of other things associated with diabetes, insulin resistance, etc. It's just dysregulating your metabolic system and just causing a whole host of problems associated with obesity, etc., 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 and even more than that, okay? And so we have to first get this together, okay? So oxytocin, cortisol, insulin, regulated, and once these are aligned and happy, right? Once you get this snap together, then you're gonna get your progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone together, okay? So the bottom line, what you need to know here is increasing sex, having more sex is going to increase your estrogen and progesterone, okay? And balance out your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, okay? So now, why is that important specifically? If you don't know, estrogen is responsible for, and progesterone together are responsible for that beautiful hair growth that you get while you're pregnant, okay? So why is that? Because estrogen and progesterone activate something called your anagen phase, okay? Now there's 3 phases in the hair growth cycle. There's the anagen phase, there is the catagen, I call it the resting itch phase, where your hair is not doing nothing, it's just chilling. You can't tell her to go nowhere, she's not going home, she's eating your popcorn, watching your movies, and you're like, all right, it's getting a little late, so what you about to do? You know what I mean? And then there's telogen. Telogen is shedding, and it's natural shedding, but there's a condition called telogen effluvium, and that is when you're shedding excessively, and that's usually postpartum shedding or shedding after a stress or traumatic event. That's not natural. You should not be overly shedding, and I've discussed this many a times. There's a video on here about shedding and breaking and all this other stuff. So y'all subscribe to the channel. Stop being lazy. Just press the quick button and just binge watch on all the other stuff, because you want to get your hair right and tight for the new year, okay? So anyway, moving back to the point that I was making, estrogen and progesterone is what's responsible for that beautiful, thick, luxurious, lustrous hair that you get after you have a baby, okay? So if you want your hair to grow and to keep growing, like if you're pregnant, but you don't got to get pregnant without the pregnancy, you have to make sure that these hormones are together. Now, I have other videos on my issues, my personal issues with my hormones being imbalanced and trying to balance them out. Now, there's natural ways, and go watch those videos. And then there's, of course, other ways, which predominantly is the medical ways of just taking birth control or hormone replacements. I go back and forth about whether or not I want to do certain things. That's not this video. But the bottom line is you need to regulate those hormones, because if you are experiencing thinning, if you are experiencing shedding, if your hair is not as thick as it used to be, even if you're not older, just know that you could be dealing with hormonal imbalance, and those hormones can be PCOS. I mean, it could come out in the form of PCOS. Obviously, your hormones are off. You have a decline of estrogen, which means that now your vagina is dry. And it also means that your libido is low, okay? So now let's talk about the correlation of these hormones being out of whack and your libido being low. Now, I can only speak from experience. Now, I could be honest, like I've had problems with my libido, and a lot of that, besides my hormones being imbalanced, is because of stress. Cortisol is extremely high. Oxytocin is pissed low to the floor. And I'm just one of those girls that could just go, just endless, almost infinite times without having sex, okay? And no, that's not necessarily normal. And it could be a result of a low libido, and it could be a result of your libido being low because your hormones are imbalanced. And so with that low libido and that low sexual drive, you're not activating sex, which is going to help balance out these hormones. It's kind of like sex is like it's like the accelerator version, right? You could do all these other things to regulate oxytocin, cortisol, insulin, and then of course get the sex hormones together. But sex is kind of like the cheat sheet. It's kind of like the way to hurry up and boost that oxytocin sky high and to get everything to kind of regulate itself, okay? And the other thing about sex is one of those things that the more you do it, the more you need it, the more you increase your desire to have it, the more you're getting those hormones flowing, you're getting that oxytocin flowing, that dopamine rush, and you're just pushing everything where it needs to be, okay? So when you have decreased desire, it's usually a result of some type of underlying health condition, some type of hormonal imbalance, or just extreme stress. None of the above is good, all right? Let's get it together, sis. None of it is okay? Now, we already done went through our, 2022, I'm getting rid of you, or whatever little things that we had to say to ourselves. We're getting rid of toxic relationships. We're starting new things. We're getting in the gym. We're doing this. We're doing that. Whatever you're doing, let's be intentional about our outcomes. Let's make sure that we're focusing on regulating our hormonal system. And what good way to do that? What better way to do that than with intimacy, with love, with sex, okay? So it's very simple. The issue, let's just call it the cheat sheet, okay? The accelerated version or the cheat codes to getting all these things where they need to be is by having more sex. And no, don't ask me if I know from if I know from practice. No, I don't. But I do know from research, because I wanted to know. I needed to know. This was something that was very interesting and intriguing for me. And I figured if I want to know, you want to know too. Does sex help to balance your hormones, essentially helping you to regrow thicker, fuller hair and getting thicker hair on your head, okay? So now, another thing about sex, it increases the blood flow to your hair follicles. It delivers nutrients and oxygen to those follicles, promoting hair growth, thickness, and density, okay? We want those follicles to pop like popcorn, okay? Pop, 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 pop. That's the, and you can. Hair follicles are cells, okay? Essentially, there are cells, and they're like little tiny sub-organs in the body that can be proliferated, okay? Cells can be regrown and proliferated, and of course, we want to do that, and sex is a great way to increase that blood flow and that oxygenation to the hair follicle. And so, if you have a low libido, okay, like I said, I am speaking from experience here, okay? And I am in this journey myself of trying to increase my libido. But naturally, okay, when that oxytocin pops, okay, and that cortisol drops, you're gonna start to see improvement. But if you're a little bit like me and you want a little extra help, okay? Because I just, a little is not enough for me. There are some things out there that does exist that are FDA approved and available over the counter to help to get the blood flowing and circulating. Disclaimer, don't go out there and having sex with those toxic dudes that are no good, okay? Those toxic girls that are no good. We're not gonna go back to all those people. When I'm talking about sex here, I'm talking about sex and intimacy with a person that is deserving and that makes you feel great and amazing, okay? That is first getting the sex and the libido to activate from your mind, okay? From your soul and then your body, okay? We want to have healthy sex this year, okay? And beyond. We want to have sex with a wonderful person that is going to make you feel wonderful about yourself, okay, ladies? Let's not just go out here with everybody, okay? Zester is a massage oil that's FDA approved and available over the counter, okay? And basically it warms you up in all the right places. You use it and it stimulates blood flow to the clitoris. Of course, there's clitoral stimulation devices, okay? And there is one that is FDA approved. And what it does is it increases genital blood flow by applying a vacuum to your clitoris. That one is a little expensive. The one that's FDA approved is $300. I'm sure you can find a lot of clitoral stimulation devices out there on somebody's market. And of course, there is a 2016 study that shows that vibrators have increased pretty much the desire and vaginal lubrication in 2/3 of women in a study, okay? And so they used vibrators for about 3 months, and the results of that was, of course, more lubrication that they were generating on their own, and an increased desire to have sex. So this is for you if you're struggling, if your libido is a little bit on the lower side, and you need a little bit of, you need a little push, you need a little inspiration and motivation to get you to where you need to be. This is for you. And then also everything that I've already mentioned, about insulin, about regulating your diet, getting in that gym, sis. Let's get our bodies active. I need to get back active myself. I've been inactive for a very long time. So let's get back in the gym together. Let's get the blood flowing to our follicles. Let's get the hair flowing. Let's get the stress levels down, okay, as best as we possibly can. Let's start making some music in the bedroom, if you know what I mean, and let's regulate these hormones. And let's hurry up and dysregulate this androgen. Let's drop it. Let's drop the DHT and the DHEAS that's causing our hair to come out thin. And let's increase estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, or at least balance it to where now we're growing thicker, fuller, denser hair. So I wanted to give y'all the science behind it because I know that the title seems salacious and all I was going to tell you to do was just sit here and have sex. Now, if you want me to have some conversations, some more deeper sexual conversations, I'll be happy to do that. And it will just be through third parties because, honey, I don't know. I am not active, have not been active for a while. She is a desert. She don't know. I can only do the research. I can only break down the clinical studies for you and tell you what the experts are saying about sex, Sorry. But yeah, that's that on that. Subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Am I saying that there's not a lot of bald-headed girls or people out here having sex? I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying that in totality, when it comes to your hair and your health and wellness, it's a full picture here. And we're just trying to throw in everything into our toolbox, into our arsenal that's gonna make sure that we are at optimal health and wellness, and ain't nothing messing with the thrivation, even though that's not a word, of our hair and our skin. All right, baddies, bye.